Hi everybody, my name is Rosalie Placati and welcome to a very special Our Town Special. Today I am at the Frankfort VFW and I've got a little round table going on with some of our local veterans to kind of give an insight into the military across 4 wars and 4 veterans and their experience. I have got Mr. John Sola from World War II.
Hello.
Hello, and you're in the Navy?
I was in the Navy, yes.
Okay. And we've got Mr. Bill Hogeson. Yes, did I say that right? Korean War. Army. We have got Mr. Ron Ruge from Vietnam. Army. And we've got Mr. Keith Burfield from Afghanistan in the Army. So I think this is pretty cool. We've got probably we've got between 60 and 70 years of military here. And what we're going to be looking for are some of the commonalities of their experiences, and I think that's what you're going to find out today. So I found out in talking to everybody before, some are drafted, some are enlisted. So we're going to start just with Keith for a second because you are our enlisted man. And how old were you when you enlisted?
I enlisted when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I went to college for a year and decided I wasn't ready for it, and just kind of decided I don't know, just enlist and
went from there.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
And a lot of you know the Burfields. She's got Mary Ellen and Bill have 3 boys, and they're all in different branches of the service. So I think that's pretty awesome too. Now the rest of you were drafted.
Right.
So Ron, tell me about Vietnam.
I was drafted in 1966. I served from 66 to 68. Drafted in the Army. I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky for basic training. And from there I went to Fort Hood, Texas, where I was in an armor unit, 2nd to 13th Armor, and did my AIT there for...
What's an AIT?
Advanced Infantry, or Advanced Instructions. And we went, and then from there, which I thought would never happen, I was short, actually. I only had 10 months left to do in the Army. And they sent me to Vietnam.
Okay.
I thought for sure I had it made. I will not go to Vietnam, and I'll spend my time here in Fort Hood. But
that obviously didn't
boy,
happen.
they threw a monkey wrench into my plans. So
yeah, and I think too, I think who just came home from their honeymoon and they got the enlistment. Tell us about that.
I got married in '51 in June. When I come home from my honeymoon, the notice was Uncle Sam wants you. So then I went in the Army in October of '51, and I got discharged in '53. I went overseas, and I spent 14 months overseas.
How did your new wife react to that?
It was horrible.
It was horrible, I bet.
Right.
I mean, to come home from your honeymoon and get that, that's not exactly a congratulations card.
I was 21 when I went in.
You were 21?
I was like an old man in the company, all these young guys were in there.
Well, that's a good point, because I know that in a lot of these wars and conflicts, Mike Holland's 26, and thinking of some of these young men and women that either get drafted or go in, I can't even imagine. I mean, they're so very, very young. Now, you were drafted as well, but your experience was a little bit different.
It is, yeah. I was drafted in 1944. I had been working in Detroit for 3 years before that, from 1941. That was the opportunity I took because I was in engineering, and I worked there developing all military equipment, designing, and worked long hours, sometimes 12 hours, 15 hours a day, because it was very important to build up our military equipment.
And you had to do it quickly.
And you had to do it very quickly. So I know all the automobile companies were not building cars, they were building equipment. In fact, I looked out of the engineering window and saw a long line of tanks going up Woodward Avenue. And from there, of course, it gets completed. Finally, you get caught up. So that's when they drafted me in. I had to come back to Chicago, got drafted in 1944, went to Great Lakes, and that's where I started the so-called Navy career. And,
now, were you married during all this?
I wasn't married. I was 26 years old, a little older than the average fella that I met at Great Lakes. In fact, at Great Lakes there was a lot of younger people, and I had related a story about being in the first few nights where we were living on bunks, 3-4 high, and when the lights went out at 9 o'clock, I heard a lot of sobbing.
Oh.
A lot of young people were, 17, 18, 19, and it was the first time they'd been away, really.
Right.
And I didn't feel that way because I had been away.
Yeah, and you were a little bit older.
And I was a little older,
Different
but I sure
perspective.
felt for those young people. It got to me a little bit saying, by gosh, these young people are having a rough time. And
Well-
they sobbed for maybe 3-4 nights, but then they got over it,
Well, and that's one of the things too I want to bring about. It's a little bit later in the conversation about the importance of support and this camaraderie, I should say. I just know that we were about 18 in '75 for the Vietnam conflict, and my husband had to register for the draft, and we held our breath, and then luckily for him, it didn't happen. But I just know how frightening that was. So going from the comfort of your home to a boot camp experience. Now, all I know about boot camp is what I see in the movies. So, I mean, is it really as rough and military as it is portrayed in the movies?
I would say so. Of course, the chiefs that run the different areas, they get assigned to many groups within Great Lakes, and they're very competitive with one another. So they want to see your group sharp. So they keep after you pretty readily, and you got to get up at 5, do the exercise, and then follow the orders that they want throughout the day. So, and then finally you have a competition. And some of these chiefs were very competitive. They even betted on each other.
Well, now Keith, you were going to say about boot camp.
Yeah, well, I was down in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I would say it was just a lot of impossible tasks that they give you
Like
to
what?
complete. Like,
All
say
I know is that
getting-
big wall. I know I'd never get over that big wall, okay?
Like, say your first day getting 100 guys with all your gear from one spot to 100 yards to another spot in about 30 seconds just to break you in. And it's pretty much impossible task that they know that you're not going to accomplish. Just they want to break you down before they build you up. So
Yeah.
And that's how
Yeah, I
you
agree.
felt too, Ron?
Right.
Oh, yeah, but although after the first few weeks of basic training, you get into a routine and you understand what's going on. And, I got to enjoy it. I look forward to the competition, as John said. And I love going to the rifle range. Oh my God. I try to qualify with any weapon I can get my hands on. Not knowing that I would go to Vietnam, but just
The opportunity of it to learn.
I shot a 50 caliber machine gun. How many people can actually say they've done that in their lifetime? But
Right.
it's just something. Well, and I grew up with that sort of thing too. I mean, we did hunting and stuff like that. So, but I did enjoy basic training and confidence course where you have to go through this course in such and such a time. It
Now
was enjoyable.
Now, after
in a way.
after the basic training, then I assume some of you went on to some further training. I mean, it's more than just basic training, Keith.
Well, for me, I was a cavalry scout, and what they do now is it's called OSIT, One Station Unit Training, where they combine the basic training and your individualized training. So altogether, I was in Fort Knox for 16 weeks.
16 weeks.
So
Yeah, see, that's just the difference between what the modern Army
Right.
is going through compared to what we went through and compared to what these
Korean,
guys went
right.
through. I mean, it's totally, their equipment they train with, everything is computerized nowadays. Like I was in an Army unit. We didn't have, at the very end they started bringing computers in for to shoot the main gun. But I mean, the big tanks now, they're all computerized. And these guys are all been raised in the computer era.
Totally different generations,
So I mean,
right?
it's totally, I wouldn't say totally different. The basic thing is the same, but their training is a little different.
Well, and then, even your actual service itself, whether you stayed here to protect this country, whether you went overseas, whether you were, even in the conflict. I know one of the things that had to be so frightening for World War II, Korean, even Vietnam. I mean, our wars and conflicts happen in real time now. The media is there. Yeah. You've got cell phones. You've got texting. You can. It's immediate. It's in real time. But I can't imagine, Vietnam or World War II or Korea or leaving the country. How did you all communicate? Was it letters home?
Well, that was the main thing, was letter writing.
Yeah.
Letter writing was the most important thing.
And then you got letters back.
And then you got letters back, yeah, and packages, and you share whatever you got with other people, whether it was cookies or wine or whatever was sent. In my case, there was a lot of wine sent because
all right.
being Italian, we always had
that was a staple,
wine. Yeah,
right?
it was a staple.
It was important.
But it was a little different then as far as communication. I used to write my mom in Italian, and I did very, very poorly in Italian, but I wrote just the way it sounded.
Yeah.
And when I got back here at home, and maybe that's another question you might have, she had saved all the letters.
I would have saved them, absolutely.
And then they got a big kick out of reviewing the letters and trying me to explain what I meant.
Well,
at the time.
And let's talk about that. So, letter writing and getting things from home,
Right.
important to you as well. Important to you as well.
I was told at one time I wasn't writing enough back home. And I don't know if my mother wrote to the company commander or whatever, but it came down on me, my platoon sergeant.
Good.
Said, Rugi,
Ma got you in trouble.
That's right. And, so they told me you better at least start sending out a letter a week to back home to let your family know what you're doing. And I said, wow.
See, mom's reaches are
Right.
very far.
I'm telling you, without a
She
doubt.
was correcting
Don't
him
ever
when
think.
he was away.
That's right. I found Kate in Africa all the time
Yeah.
if I needed her. So,
Right.
and then I know you were overseas.
I went up north. They made that dew line started in Newfoundland and went across North America. They were worried about the Russians coming over North America. So what we did, we unloaded all the equipment wherever we wanted to make one of them stations that radar would break. So that's what we did. We were on ships most of the time, but we did unload a lot of stuff.
And I wonder how many people knew that. Again, we're in such real time now. Some of the things that were happening, World War II,
I met
I
a
didn't know
guy
that.
at the hospital my wife was in, and he was a Navy commander. And he says, that dew line saved a lot of the United States from being attacked.
Wow.
Because they never did have this radar system at that time. And he says it really helped.
And what year was that?
1951.
51.
Yeah.
So
it started in 50 or right after the World War II.
see, a lot of people, I bet, didn't know that and how important it was. And that was probably very, very quiet because nobody probably wanted to talk about it anyways. You wanted to show your hand.
Basic training, they want to install leadership into you. And that's why they're so rough on you. But it's after 16 weeks or 12 weeks, you're part of the crew.
Yeah.
The sergeant might hate you when you first went in, and after you're there to 12 or 14 weeks, he'll shake your hand.
That's true. I hated my drill
I
sergeant.
mean, it's
I hated
unbelievable.
this. I told myself, if we ever go to combat,
Kill him.
he's the one I want leading me.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh, I'm-
right. Because he was that strong and that
Oh,
focused.
strong, and he knew his job and he knew it well, and he's trying to get what he knew into you because he knew where you might end up.
Right.
Not saying that everybody went overseas, but he knew he wanted to do the best job that he could to get you prepared to do what you had to
Our
do.
cadre was
awesome.
from World War II.
Yeah.
Most were called back for the Korean
sure.
War.
'Cause it was
and they
50s,
knew
right?
what was going on, like Ron said. And that's why they made it so hard on
That's
you.
right.
But after a while, you respect it because
Sure.
Well, they
you
wouldn't have
figure,
done you
"He's
any
saved my
favors if
life,"
they were soft on you because
If
that
you went
could
in
potentially
combat and
save
you
your
didn't have
life.
that assurance,
Right.
Right. Now, Keith, how were you communicated with? We've heard some letters and things like that. I mean,
Mostly email and telephone. We
yeah, it's so different.
and even my platoon was in a very secluded place of in Afghanistan. We had one computer and one phone, and our platoon sergeant made it a point. He goes, only call your family once a week, because if you start calling every day and there's some reason you can't call that day, then they're going to expect the worst. And that was probably the best advice I got.
Absolutely.
Just calling them every Sunday and emailing them every once in a while, because if I were to call every day and say I was out on a mission and couldn't get back and call, then
You had to share that computer with
Yeah,
others, right?
we had to
Yeah.
share the phone and computer. So
What kind of barracks did you guys have? Did you sleep in tents or?
we slept in a abandoned Afghan National Police station.
No kidding. Yeah.
I guess that's the.
See how wars change.
Now, see,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing too. I can't even imagine the climate changes y'all had to deal with.
The heat these
The
guys
heat.
deal
How
with.
hot was it where you were?
The peak it got was about 120 degrees.
Wow.
And then you had to wear all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and about 75 pounds a
I
gear.
would.
Wow.
But then
But
I
then
would like
you
to
had
see
some-
you, the flak jacket that we wore compared to the one you guys. I mean, I think ours weighed 12 pounds.
Wow.
And then considering the equipment you carried, it
Yeah.
had to be a hot.
That must be a heavy piece
Yeah,
of
especially
equipment.
Yeah.
in the summer.
Well, I mean,
it was hot with us.
I was going to say,
but
wasn't it
nothing
hot
like
in
that.
Vietnam though
Yeah,
too?
Well, we had a lot of humidity too.
Yeah.
But these
So it was
guys,
dry heat. Sorry.
these
Yeah.
guys put up with a lot of heat.
120. I can't imagine.
I mean, you could drink about 8 bottles of water
Yeah.
and not need to use the bathroom all day.
Oh, sure.
You just sweat it all out. So.
Yeah.
Well, again, you talked a little bit about the camaraderie and that your leadership prepared you. Now, I know some of you, were in combat or whatever, and like you mentioned, Ron, it was very, very important to have that at that point because you really needed to count on your brother here, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it's right. You count on your partner. Like when we went into combat, everybody carried machine gun ammunition. We had one machine gunner, M60 machine gun, but everybody carried a box of ammunition for that man, and plus your own ammunition. So that was when I was thinking about this interview, and I'm thinking, what can I really say? One thing I want to do when I went into combat, I want to make sure I didn't run out of ammunition. I want to carry as many magazines as I possibly could. Now these guys carried the M16, smaller weapon. I carried M14, bigger weapon, a lot more. The ammunition's heavier. So
Yeah.
they carried a lot more ammunition than we did. But like I say, you carry as much as
Because you don't want to be without it.
you don't want to run out of ammunition. You don't want to have to fix bayonets.
Yeah, it was very similar to what he was saying. We, with our machine gunners, we also all carried extra machine gun ammo in our bags too. And the standard load for us was 7 magazines. For our M16s, we usually carried about 10 or 12.
And how much did that even weigh?
We carried 4.
How much
Yeah.
did that weigh extra? Pretty heavy.
a
It's
lot,
got to
yeah.
be, right?
Well, these guys, the M16 round is, about half the size of a 7.62, which is what I carried. I carried M14. A lot of the guys were in my platoon also carried M16s. But I don't know why I got the M14. But the bigger gun.
Yeah.
But I couldn't carry that much. Well, I carried as much as I could. I carried about 100 rounds of ammunition. So, but then, like I say, we had to carry the M60 machine gun ammunition. But that you wanted to make sure you had enough ammunition for everybody.
Yeah. Now, what about? Now, I know you're all overseas and then what was the? I don't know if it's a silly question or whatever. But what was the food like? I mean, is it again? My education is through books and movies. I mean, the food, the rations or whatever. How did that all work? Especially when you were in the field too.
We just had the later version of what these guys had, the meals ready to eat.
I
they're called
personally was
C-Rab.
never in the field.
Okay.
I was stationed at Long Bend Post. So what we did, we pulled guard duty. We were on, and any action that we had was from being attacked by VC.
Okay.
So we were always on base, more or less, and we ate in the mess hall.
Yeah.
We had a mess hall, but food was okay.
Yeah. What about you guys? What was the food?
When I first got Labrador, we ate in the tent. We had tents. We'd go sleep in tents till it got cold. Then we went to the Air Force Base. We stayed. We ate in the Air Force Base.
Yeah, pretty good though. Not your mom's cooking though,
Good
bad,
food.
bad.
Yeah. Air Force always eats good.
Oh, the Air Force always
Air
eats
Force
good.
and the Navy.
Navy always ate good.
Really?
I rode convoy up to Tonsanute Air Force Base when I was over there, and I went ate in their mess hall. They ate
So
good.
why is that?
That was the Air
Why?
Force. That was the Air Force.
But they got a little bit bigger budget or something?
I don't know. I don't know why.
When everything comes off the plane, they have first pick.
Oh,
at it,
I
so
guess if it is, right? The Air Force with the
It's-
planes, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
still true today.
Oh, very good.
I can
All right.
remember.
Now, from your Italian food though, that couldn't have been good.
Oh, it was very good. I thought,
Oh, good.
because I had actually taken, when I was in Manila, I had taken a job. They appointed me head of the chow house or the mess hall for a while. And food was very ample. However, there was one situation that occurred over there because of the weather. All the salt shakers that were on the table,
Oh,
they
probably
would
the
clog
moisture,
up.
right.
Yeah. Now, with my engineering background and being connected with the carpenters there, we built a cabinet, put bulbs in there.
Dry
And
it out a little?
at the end of the mess hall, when we cleaned up, all the salt went in there, and it worked out beautifully.
Oh, good, see?
You know,
There you go.
it was just another thought, another idea that
But what they
worked
told
out.
you, what you put on your plate, you better eat.
There was no wasting then, right?
You
There-
better eat it. If you put it on your plate, you better eat it.
There was these Cadota figs. It seemed like nobody liked them. They were highly syruped,
Ugh.
And in the mess hall line, there was buckets of it like that, and there were a lot of it left over. So the Filipinos there, they just liked those Cadota figs.
There you go.
So I used to switch. I would give them the figs, and they would bring me papaya.
There, I bet that was very good
And
then.
the papaya was excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. You'd cut it in two, take the seeds out, good for
And it
your
was fresh, right?
fresh, and it was good for your body, I was told. And so I really enjoyed it. In fact, I got one the other day from the store
Oh,
just
good.
to try it out again.
Yeah, did it taste the same
It
for you?
didn't taste the
Aw.
same. No.
But now, so you had that's a little bit different. You really, did you have a mess hall like these guys did?
We were at kind of the fire base I was at. We actually hired a Afghan cook.
Really?
Well, we had Army rations flown in to us by helicopter, and he was actually pretty good about spicing it up and making it taste a lot
Yeah.
better than really
Well,
was.
and this leads to my next question then. So let's talk a little bit about coming home. You've been gone. I think all the coming home experiences are a little bit different here. So, let's start with a little bit, let's kind of go in order a little bit with World War II. When you came back, when the war was over, what was that like?
Well, when the war was over, of course, I got home because of the points. They used to count the number of points, and then they'd let you go.
Okay.
I was on a board ship coming home with some of my friends who had been in battle. They'd been in a kamikaze when the Japanese hit their ships.
Wow.
So we were talking on the way back to San Francisco what we were going to do,
Yeah?
And what we did, what everybody was talking about is when I land in San Francisco, I'm going to go to that best hotel that's in San Francisco, and we're going to have a big ice cream, soda, and ice cream meal, he said.
That's great.
And that was the end. That was the good part of it. But coming home was excellent. Like so many of us, because we got a little money coming away from it, I stayed home for 3-4 months, just doing nothing.
Well, and then time, when did you come home? What year?
In 46.
So 46. What an exciting time in the country too.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
with all the veterans coming home, that was when all the building really took
Started,
off. Yeah,
right,
and then
right.
some of the educational opportunities for the veterans
That's
started.
where I went into. the
Okay, so you took
education.
advantage of
Yeah.
that. Now coming home from your experience.
53, I got home, and I had a wife there, and she lived with my mother-in-law, so
She-
she had to get her own spot.
Okay,
and
so
own
she was
farm.
away with her own mom.
Yeah, she with her mom.
Well, that was good. And
And
then you
so we
had
had
a-
to get an apartment and all that. So it was, I
Yeah.
had to go back to work and all that. It was nice, really
Yeah.
nice coming
Well,
home.
I bet seeing your wife again.
Right,
Now,
right.
did you settle in Chicago or?
We lived in Chicago, yeah.
Okay.
We lived in Blue Island for 41 years.
Oh,
before
that's
we
a great
moved out
town.
here. We've been out here 12 years.
Okay.
It was nice.
And then now Vietnam, a little different.
Well, they flew us out. As I went over as an individual, I didn't go with a unit or anything like that. I flew in and on TWA. I flew out on TWA. But there was receiving so much small arms fire delayed our departure for a day. And then finally they said, okay, we're going out. And pack your stuff, get on the plane, get your seat, buckle up. And the plane starts taxiing down, and somebody yelled out, we're starting to get small arms again. I'm thinking, here we go, we're going to pull right back in. And no, they kept going. The guy, I guess the pilot just thought, we're just going to go for broke here. And well, you felt that plane, you know how it rumbles going down the runway, and then all of a sudden you hear the rumbling and boom, it lifts up off the ground. You're holding your breath, and then that bird just jumps up, gets so high, and then everybody just said, hallelujah, here we go. We're heading for home.
That is
It
awesome.
was a good feeling.
Now, where did you land into? What did you have to?
We came back, well, we went to Hawaii, no, Philippines, Hawaii, and then Oakland Air Force Base.
Okay.
I mean, Oakland Army Base. And then when we got there, they gave us a nice big steak dinner for serving our country,
All right.
which was really nice.
I bet.
And from there, I jumped a jet, came home.
Okay, and in Chicago?
In Chicago, right.
So you guys are all pretty local.
Surprised the family. I called them from O'Hare,
Oh.
and called my brother. No, actually, we took a cab home. There was about 4 or 5 of us, and we all paid the cabbie. I think about $75 at the time, but we all divvied up so much. And I was the last one who got dropped off. I lived in Worth at the time, and I was the last one. I paid the taxi driver off, and
you walked in.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a surprise?
yeah, surprised my mother. Yeah.
How hard was she crying?
You know,
Because I would have started crying.
yeah, she was surprised, very, very surprised. They knew I was coming home, but they didn't know exactly when, because I got a couple days early out. So, yeah, I surprised them.
Oh, that's
It was nice, though.
That's beautiful.
But
Now,
when that jet lifted off the ground,
yeah,
that was a feeling I'll never forget.
That's a happy surprise.
that is a happy surprise. Now, Keith, when you came home, how long did you serve? And then, again, with today's communication, it's a little bit different. I'm not sure there could be those kinds of surprises, right?
Yeah, well, my battalion, we were actually based out of Hohenfels, Germany. So we flew from Afghanistan to Kuwait and then into Germany, where we had to spend a week. The Army does reintegration now, before we could go back to the States. And when I came back, I mean, I live in Brook Ridge Creek, and I just want to thank everyone who lives there and all the kids. They had ribbons, signs everywhere, and it was a real nice homecoming.
That was a happy homecoming.
Now, the
Yeah.
reintegration that you mentioned, and that the importance of, it's almost kind of like getting you ready to go home after your experience.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And I would imagine that's a very important part of coming home.
It was frustrating just because.
Yeah, 'cause you wanted to go
Yeah,
home.
we all wanted to go home, but we were stuck in Germany for about 7 days. So.
Now, the rest of you didn't enjoy that. It was like, okay, it's over, you're getting on your plane, it did take off, thank God, and then you were home.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, so that had to be a little bit tough. I mean, you're from, going, well, as tough as it was going in and leaving your home, then all of a sudden leaving all that and coming home. So now and I think what I'd like to conclude with here is the importance of support. Obviously, we're taping at the Frankfort VFW, and I know that this is a very popular place for veterans and family to come in here and relax together and enjoy refreshments together. The support coming, how important, and I know this is a dopey question to even say it out loud, but how important is support? I mean,
Well, we were talking about before, and we weren't accepted very well coming home. But what we went through made it easier for these guys.
It's okay. It's all right. I agree. I think that we learned from that, and I'm sure that gives you some peace too. That what happened to you makes it easier for Keith to come home.
And me and my company, we all recognized that the difficulties these guys had coming home really helped America see that they needed to accept us coming home regardless of their opinion of the war. And so what they went through benefited us.
Well, and I think that, and I appreciate you saying that, because regardless of their opinion, and I think that's what we all want to get here, regardless of whatever your politics are, what your opinions were, you guys served, and so the importance of support, again, I think is huge and very important, obviously. Now, 3 of our gentlemen here are in Gateway, and you kind of took that support to a different level.
Yes, we started about 3 years ago, established the Veterans of Gateway. It was historic for us because it started with Memorial Day. And the people in Gateway, particularly the women, wanted to have some particular ceremony. So we got together, and this woman depended on the veterans to help her with this. So that's when we got together and really established basically the Veterans of Gateway.
Yeah, I think Ron's got, you created a flag, it looks
Yeah,
like.
this is our organizational flag.
Your organizational flag, which is pretty cool. I see that on your hats as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Now that's an eagle, I assume.
True.
Yeah.
Right, too?
Hope it don't look like a chicken.
No, I know. Well, and you picked the eagle because?
Strength.
Strength.
Strength,
I like that.
respect, power, and actually donating and trying to keep patriotism alive in our community. And we had a flag situation that we started right after 9/11, which now we've supported completely, and neighbors have flags on every one of our poles in front of the homes. And we are responsible for keeping that up. So that's Bill does a lot of work in that. And people are, some, of course, in general, sometimes we've had people refuse to put it up. So
Really?
you have to
Another
handle.
thing is we have a flagpole, we have a monument out in front dedicated to all the veterans, and we have every like Memorial Day and that we have a ceremony. And John usually writes the poems, and we get about 30 guys, maybe 35 sometimes at that ceremony, you know. So our organization is really building up,
And
you know.
important to you, too, because
Right.
it pulls you all
Right.
together.
And this flag goes to every soldier that passes on. We go and present the family with the flag, card, and we do a memorial ceremony
Honor
at the
guard.
casket.
Wait. an
Wake
honor.
ceremony.
Well, I know that my father-in-law was in World War II, and when he passed, you know, they came to the funeral home and then the day of the funeral, and it's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's very,
You
very
see the cards
powerful.
we get back from the widows.
Yeah.
They thank us 10 times over
course.
because we walk in with our flag and we all stand and salute the casket, and then John reads a little poem. We hand the widow
That's
$25, and then we have, if you're Army, Navy, Marine, or Air Corps, wherever you're in, we have a card made
Yeah,
up
a
with that
special
design
card.
Oh,
on it.
that's nice.
And the widows, and the family, they greet us.
Well,
you
that's
know.
got to give them some peace.
Right,
And then
right.
plus, it coming from you
Right.
Sure.
is even more important because
Right.
only you guys know what that person went through,
Right.
you know, and it's just like any support group or any peer group. It's much more powerful coming from you
Right.
than it would be from me that maybe
Right.
didn't know them or didn't have that same experience. So,
And as we get older, of course, there's veterans in our group. We have about 60 veterans in our
wow.
group that are homebound.
And you
Right.
said the Gulf now, you've got some veterans from the Gulf War
Yeah.
Right.
now.
So
But-
the homebound ones we attempt to visit.
I've even had people come up to me and thank you for serving.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's
Right.
probably happening more and more now
Right.
with kind of these guys coming home.
Right.
Did that happen for you as well, Keith?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Because I know most of the men I know that have not served recognize what you guys
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and thank you. And I think that's I've
yeah.
seen that happen at the airports. I've
Yeah.
seen that happen in the stores.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen in restaurants. And how do you feel when somebody comes up and thanks you for your service that you don't even know says thank you for your service?
I mean, it feels good. It's kind of
Humbling.
hard to, it's humbling, and it's kind of hard to respond to. Like, I don't know what to
Right.
respond
Right.
with.
You don't know how to respond to
Yeah.
them. You know, well, thank you, or, you know,
Yeah.
what do I say to a
Yeah.
person that's thanking me for doing something I didn't mind doing at all?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think isn't that kind of the whole patriotism, right? I mean,
Right.
it's not an individual thing; it's a collective thing.
Right.
Right.
And I'm glad that people recognize that here. So I certainly am
And
glad.
especially for a Vietnam veteran like him, to receive a thank you must be a heck of a lot more meaningful than probably would be me. But I
it's a
think
different
it's
experience.
a different experience, and just like Keith would have here, it's a different experience. But fortunately, we hope everyone in the country feels that way. However, you do have opposition, and we expect that. So.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you, gentlemen. This was I thought this was a great show, and I know I got out of it what I had hoped to get out of it. I do see the commonality here. I do see the brotherhood. You guys have never met Keith before, and yet you all had very similar experiences and shared those things. So I thank you very, very much.
No, we thank you.
Hey, we thank you, and we want to wish you a good future.
Well, and that's why, and I'm just going to mention that this is my last show, and I thought how perfect it would be, and I don't want to cry either, but how perfect it would be with you guys.
Oh, I got plenty of Kleenex.
I'll need it after when the cameras go off. But I thought how perfect that my last show would be with you guys. So it was an honor for me to do this and conclude with this. I do want to say some thank yous. I do want to say thank you to the Village and Ray and Jim and everybody who has supported Channel 6. I think this has been a lot of fun. I want to say thank you to Joe Griffin. I've worked with Joe now. I've probably done cable for about 15 years. A lot of, I was younger, lighter, not so many wrinkles. Yeah, how about it?
Thinner.
And the cool thing was is that I've known Joe, and he started volunteering with cable, I think at 14, and so I've worked with him for 10 years, so I say thank you to Joe. It's been a pleasure and a very special relationship, and I want to say thank you to the viewers. I always laugh that you guys were all closet viewers because nobody ever admitted to watching Channel 6, but I know you do watch it. Oh, yeah. So I want to say thank you for watching, and keep watching Channel 6 because this is your hometown. And the last thing is I've just had a stupid amount of fun. So I want to say thank you, and I'll see you around.
I want to say we got another guy here.
Oh,
Tony
I know.
Kokas.
We had Tony here too.
Tony here is not on the movie.
I know, but he was here to support you guys.
Right.
So, and there's always a lot of support behind.
He's going to keep us in memory.
Okay.
We watch Tony. He's our treasure.
Okay, yeah, you always watch your treasure. But anyways, I just want to say thank you, and I'll see you around town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Welcome home, brother.
Thank you.
Take care. Nice seeing you.
Nice being with you.
Yeah, it was good sitting around and talking to all you guys.
Nice being with you, Wilson.
Yeah.